Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RedSeaPodcast. In an episode where, if you would have asked me about a week ago, uh, when, well, no, a bit less than a week ago, on Tuesday, when I did the preview for the Paphos game, I would have told you that I am expecting this episode to be one of the most celebratory of the show, and perhaps one of the longest of the show. And the fact that my connection issues that showed on Tuesday are the least of my concerns in what we're going to talk about says a lot. And thankfully, I'm not on my own today because I think that I would have barely made 10 minutes if I was. How are you, man?
As good as I can be. Unfortunately, like you said, we played the same game twice this week, and neither result was very satisfactory. So, um, I guess the positive is we can cover both at the same time because it's most of the same talking points.
Yeah, it is scarily similar. Uh, the funniest thing, I guess, of today is my timing with the El Khabib tweet. I don't know if you caught it. People
I
certainly did.
I made a very similar tweet. I mean, he missed that chance just before that. It was funny. Manos said something to me afterwards after the game. I quoted the goalpost, and I said he's been hogging today, but fair play. And Manos said that's his element, which I think is pretty apt for Ayub. I mean, he has some very off days, but usually he'll end up finding a way to do something if we need it. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ironic humor that that we could touch on from this game and the Paphos game.
Feels like, I mean, this is probably recency bias, but it feels like this game, especially because Christ above, was this game drawn out to absolute death up until a point. And as you said, yeah, for example, El Gabi has his off days, of course, he has his off days, but it really felt like he wasn't gonna score even with divine goddamn intervention today, same as absolutely everyone in the squad. Right? We looked. I mean, I can recall a play at around the 20th ish minute where I saw El Kabi on the wing crossing to, was it Nascimento? I don't even remember if it was Nascimento.
I
And
don't think
I
anybody was really
basically,
there.
yeah, yeah, basically just sighed and said, "What the fuck are we doing?"
Funny enough, that might have been one of the best crosses we've seen by Olympiacos in 2 weeks, but nobody was at the back post. Um, yeah, I mean, you know, on the point of being able to talk about both games at the same time, you know, I really do question what the approach was this week, and I think that there's a lot of different angles you can take with that, whether it's personnel, whether it's substitutions, whether it's the overall game plan. It really just seems like Mendilibar got it all wrong both times, and he got it wrong in the same sort of way. I mean, you know, the frustration from these two results, which on the face of them, I mean, you get two draws, you play horribly in both games, but you come away with results. I mean, you think about it that way, and it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's like, why does it take until the 85th, 90th minute to start being direct? I mean, I think that's my biggest takeaway from these two matches is, you're playing two teams who are hunkering everyone behind the ball. Neither of them have a good goalkeeper. I mean, Drogovski today again tried. He tried to give us two or three goals by just being absolutely out, and he's not a good goalkeeper. Mikhail on Wednesday. I mean, the one real shot he faced, he has to just bat at it because he's not a good goalkeeper. Why does it take us that long to put two and two together and say, okay, maybe we can't walk the ball into the net against a team of 11 players who want to sit in their own box? Um, so I don't know. I mean, I think part of that falls on the players. I think part of that falls on Mendilibar. I mean, today, I don't know what he was thinking with the 11 personally. I think Nascimento and Scipione surprised us. I think looking at them before the match, I was like, what the hell is that? I think they were probably our two best players today, at least in the first half. Um, but why would we be rotating the defense? Why would we be starting Remy Kabila? Nothing against him, but he hasn't played more than 20, 25 minutes all season. Why is his first start in potentially our most physically demanding match on a horrible pitch in a hostile environment? Some of that stuff doesn't make sense to me. So I think in all aspects, this was a very off week for the Olympiacos. And I hope that we can learn those lessons because you have to come in with a game plan. You have to come in, certain in your personnel and why they're starting and playing and how they're going to contribute to your game plan. Because it just seemed like this week, both matches, there was a lot of disconnect between what the goal was and how we were going to accomplish that and who we were turning to in those moments when we needed it. I think there was just a lot of disconnect.
I I don't know what to call it. I don't know what to call it. For the points you made in regards to today, I told you. Don't know if we had the conversation right after the game started or before. I wasn't worried with the midfield, even though Scipione, especially for me, is one of the only saving graces of the day. In talking more of a general point, right? Because he was incredible non-stop, keep getting beaten up. He was completely beating players, whether that would be Dessers, whether that would be God knows who. And Nascimento as well. Nascimento struggled a bit after a while because I think his body just gave out, right? Because that pitch was fucking something, honestly. Even though it's not our main cause of concern, but that pitch was something. What did trouble me was the point you made right after. I don't know why he didn't go with Daniel from the start. Perhaps Daniel is not that ready yet, but I would have rather, again, this is speaking in hindsight, of course, but I would have rather see Danny start and go off at the 45 rather than go more late, especially in a game that maybe if it was anyone else, I wouldn't say the same thing, but we're talking about a player that knows this game by heart, literally. If I can recall to his last time at Leoporos, right? And immediately, as soon as he came in, the impact just was crystal clear. We almost scored twice on his first 5 minutes on the pitch, which goes back to El Cabi being perhaps a bit too wasteful today, despite getting that goal. But so be it, honestly. And tracking back to Wednesday, and again to what you said, it looks like it's the same problems again and again and again. I mean, how many crosses did we have today?
I
Again.
don't know how many we had today. We had 54. I think it was something crazy on Wednesday, and we completed like 10 of them. Um,
Hmm.
Again, it's like it's strange because part of the time we're being super tentative at the top of the box, and it's like we want to make the extra pass and we want to just get a guy wide open to shoot on net, and then other times we're kicking it out wide, and it's just like, all right, let's hit and hope into the middle. That's what tells me it's like, what is the thought process here? What's the game plan? Are we a wing play team or are we going to tiki taka pass around the entire squad? Neither is working, but which one are we? Because we're not even fully committing to either of those two things. That's not working. I just it doesn't make any sense to me. Going to the accurate crosses because I've been trying to pull this up as I've been talking. Um, we had 5 and we were 25% accurate, so I assume that means we were 5 of 20 if I do my math correctly.
Hmm.
Obviously that's an improvement from Wednesday. Part of that probably has to do with the pitch we're playing on and the fact that We were chasing the game more. But again, it's just like I really don't understand why there's this aversion to being direct in these matches. Because the times that we have put pressure on, when we were putting pressure on Paphos on Wednesday towards the end of the match, when we were putting pressure on Panathinaikos today after we conceded, the game went better for us. Not only were we getting more chances, but the other team isn't able to press us as much because they're stuck in their own half. I don't understand how that doesn't come to fruition earlier. But again, I think the biggest takeaway from these two matches is the adaptability needs to change. We need to be able to make quicker adaptations to what we're seeing, because if we play like this against Arsenal, if we play like this against Real Madrid or Barcelona, I don't want to think about what's going to happen. We're going to be losing matches 5, 6, 7-0. I mean, we are going to embarrass ourselves if we can't get out of under this. So, we're fortunate, obviously, that we didn't lose either of these matches. Things could have obviously been a lot worse, but you have to improve. The fact of the matter is, Papos were our easiest match. I know people look at Kairat and say they're an easier team, but we have to travel to Siberia in December to play that game. I don't think that's going to be an easy match. And Panathinaikos are a relegation team coached by a PE coach. You have to do better. I mean, 2 draws in these 2 matches in a vacuum isn't the worst thing ever, but when you consider why can't I think of the word? The context, it's very poor and it's not good enough. And unless we make those changes, I mean, things could get really scary for us.
I mean, honestly, first of all, can you hear me normally? Is
Yep.
my audio working fine? Okay. Yeah, because I need to fix the same problem that I have at the start again, where the receiving audio keeps messing up, and I have to double it happens, and I don't know if it goes out from my end as well. First of all, a point that I did want to tackle really quickly before getting on to more of a question, because I think you covered everything else so as perfectly as it gets. I don't think we would have today. We almost did, yeah, for sure. But I don't think there was any scenario where we lost on Wednesday, and perhaps
No.
that makes it even worse.
Well, I
That
mean,
makes it even worse.
that shouldn't. I mean, that's the bare minimum. We were playing a team that had 10 men in their first ever Champions League match for 65 minutes. I mean, had we been under any real threat, I mean, that we would have been talking about much bigger issues. But I mean, that does go back to the point of, again, you're able to control the match. How are you not able to really carve out any chances? And the 1 or 2 times we did go direct, we almost scored. So it's like you see what works, but then you're going to go back to just let's hit and hope crosses for this team, and they have 7 guys in their box. I mean, we made Lukasen and Goldar look like Maldini and Mascherano in their prime. I mean, again, we're making our own problems by the way that we're playing and playing into what these other teams want to do. Um, and this is against poor opposition. I mean, you can't do that against the big boys for sure.
It's weird. It's weird because, as you said, there is no clear playstyle as it seems, especially in the first half. In the first half of games, for some reason. While I don't think we're gonna struggle as much as you said, I get why you said it. While I don't think we will struggle as much as you said against the bigger boys like Arsenal, the Wakes, for example. It really makes you think like, can we keep getting away with this in the league? It feels like one too many wasteful halves. And the question that I was gonna build into was, why didn't nothing against a lot of the 11? Because as I said, especially some of the rotational pieces like Scipione proved to be the surprises of the day. But why didn't most of these 11 play on Wednesday? And why didn't people like Yazici, Danny, even honestly, at some point, I wish we had Danny Garcia on starting for like along with Scipione. Why didn't we rotate on Wednesday? Why did it have to happen today? Screw Danny Garcia for today. I forgot the obvious for some reason. This game had been all messed up. Why didn't Chiquinho start today? Like, what was? I don't understand the reasoning for Danny. I understand why Rodinei is out because I'd much rather lose Rodinei for a game than months. I don't know what's happening with Yarenchuk and Zelson because Mendilibar said they're fine, but they weren't even in the squad. So we'll see on Wednesday, I suppose. But the two people I don't understand the reasoning for is one, Yazici instead of Capella. And again, like you said, nothing on Capella. I love the guy, and for me, he wasn't even that bad. But I would have wanted him as an impact sub today, not as a starter like he was. And the second one was Chiquinho. Like, why not start Simeone, start Mola? Why not bring Nascimento off the bench if you need to? Why start Nascimento, who again played very well, but the direct approach that you need, you kept the best players because it's both Dani and Chiquinho. You kept the best players that would have given it to you on the bench. Also, tough question, but perhaps it needs to be stated.
Okay, looks like we lost Dennis. I guess I'll just take over and answer.
I am back immediately.
Okay, there we go. I was about to start going.
I was very ready for this. I was more ready than ever. Did I cut off at the last question I wanted to ask? Was everything
That
else
it cut
clear?
off like you said. The toughest question, and then it cut off like perfectly.
Perfect timing at the very least. But yeah, as a general note, fuck construction, especially when it has to do with Wi-Fi lines. It messes everything up. Now, tough question, as I said. At some games, at least, do we try and risk shifting away from El Kabi and starting with Taremi? Do we try and start both of them?
I
Taremi
mean,
just seems too impactful to come on at the 75th.
I mean, I mentioned this. I mean, that was one of the things I said probably around like 85th minute. You know, Ayub has not had a good start to the season. I mean, he's scored a few goals, and again, I mean, I think that speaks to the level of player that he is. That he can have a really rough start to a year and still have multiple goals to his name. So, I mean, I want to qualify what I'm saying with that. I don't think that he's a bad player. I don't think that we just need to move on from him. But he's not playing that well. And to the contrary, I think Taremi has come in his appearances and looked very good. So similar to what I mean, the way that I would parallel this, I mean, look at Francisco Ortega, right? He was very poor all of last season. Then we bring in Bruno. Bruno has a full preseason. Bruno had his chances last season and looked positive. How has Francisco Ortega played this season? He's arguably been our most consistent player. Ayub El-Kabi has not had competition since he came to Olympiacos. He has been the undisputed number one partially because of injuries, partially because in his first season, the team was just that bad. We have competition for him now. One of the things that is going to hone a player and keep him focused is the fact of knowing that there's another guy behind him who can come in and be impactful and can rightfully stake a claim to his spot. Mehdi Taremi has looked very positive. I really liked everything I've seen from him. Like you said, I do think that it's a waste to bring him on in the 75th minute. I don't get me wrong, I think it's great that we have him as depth. But I mean, he also brings a different angle to the game as Ayub. I mean, he can actually link up with play behind him. Ayub is very much he's a poacher. He's going to be your guy who he's going to stay up top and he's going to get on the end of either mistakes by the defense or service brought into him. But the service has been poor this year, which I think is part of why he's been struggling. Mehdi Taremi can come back. I mean, how much does he get involved with the link-up play? How much is he involved with creating chances for other people? To a certain degree, I think in matches like this and in matches like Paphos, you need a guy like him to be playing more, whether that's next to El Kabi, which I think is definitely something we should try. But obviously, with the situation surrounding Yaremchuk, I don't know how much we're going to be able to do that right now. But I mean, you at a certain point, you have to stick or twist, right? And we've been sticking with El Kabi, and it is giving you mixed results. So I would like to see us give Taremi a shot. And then ideally, if Yaremchuk does get healthy, then maybe we can try both of them more often. But you can't do that right now because, again, if you're playing both of your strikers all the time, somebody's going to get hurt or burnt out or whatever it is, and then we're going to have to start playing Agalakis. I mean, I don't think we want that. So yeah, I think, like you said as well, some of the decisions from Mendilibar, if I can get on that, I agree that I think the lineup should have been flipped. I mean, I think this 11 today beats Paphos, and I think the 11 from Paphos probably beats Panathinaikos. I mean, just look at the midfield we started against Paphos. I mean, Etze and Garcia today.
I did not mean last Wednesday. I meant this Wednesday in the cup.
Oh, I mean, I would still argue the point. I think today the guys that we put out did offer more flowing play. I mean, I think one of my issues against Paphos, I think we took them too seriously. I mean, look at the bench we had. I mean, you look at our bench, and this was part of the problem. The only attackers we could really bring on were Nebmonidis and Taremi. I mean, I think Remy Cabela would have been a better fit for that match. I think, there were some decisions that Yazidze didn't even make the squad either. Some of that didn't make sense to me. I think today you would have been better suited to have the more robust midfield, to have, the more robust defense. But yeah, I mean, there's all different sorts of ways you can take this. It just, I think probably for the first time, Mendilibar has got it wrong, very wrong, 2 games in a row. So we'll see what happens going forward. Obviously, this Wednesday he should have the opportunity to fuck around and do whatever he wants, and we should still win. But it's frustrating that this week has passed us by and we really haven't had much to show for it.
I mean, first of all, in regards to the striker argument, you basically covered off what I wanted to say perfectly. That yeah, we can try both now, but when Yaremchuk is hopefully back, hopefully soon, we can perhaps shift to a double striker and perhaps even play Taremi a bit further back, like he can play, and see how that works out. And then he brought up an argument that I was going to bring up actually. To your point on the squads flipped, not with how I said with the cup, but with last Wednesday. You're bringing up an argument that many have that it was a mistake to leave. It ended up being a mistake due to creativity to leave both Remy Capella and Yusuf Yazidze out of the European list. And I am not gonna go out of the way and say immediately that yeah, that's a mistake because we haven't really seen how creativity and direct attack will be needed and will be approached in a bigger game. So I am willing to give that a chance to see how we fare against Arsenal without a proper creatively flowing player like Agabella or like Yasici, especially given how much more ready Danny will be to play that month, which will for sure help creatively. But if this problem continues to stick around in Europe and we say like, yeah, we're playing well, but we're just missing that one piece of final decision, that one piece of creativity constantly, then yeah, that's on Mendilibar. That's fully on Mendilibar, sadly. And that's, as you said, the main thing that in his damn near flawless tenure up to now in Olympiacos, that's one of the main things that would be considered an out and out mistake on his end, which I'm really hopeful that it was a one and done issue with creativity. And again, perhaps that problem will be a bit more hidden with teams that are more open, but that's something we'll only be able to judge sadly, of course, as time goes on, but when the league phase campaign properly finishes. But that point of yours with the European list brings back another question and goes back a bit to today specifically. You don't have him in the European list. You have neither of them in the European list. Why not split the time between Yazici and Kabbalah? Start one, start Kabbalah today. You wanted to start him, start him. Give him more time. I'm not necessarily against giving people their full on first starts in games like Panathinaikos because that baptism of fire is sort of needed here, but that's a whole different conversation. But you're saying that it doesn't work. You're saying that something is just lacking. Why not bring Yazici on half, 50th, where he has those 30, 40 minutes to be impactful? And again, it's nothing on Kabbalah. It may very well be the opposite in a few games. Like play Yazici. If it doesn't work, bring on Kabbalah. It's
Well,
weird.
or
It's a bit of a game plan limbo.
you start both. I mean, like you said, part of the benefit of having such a deep squad, and it's not a bloated squad like we've had in previous years where you have so many players that just are not of quality for the Olympiacos. You have several players like that who are very talented and can contribute to this team. If you're going to rotate like that, you should be rotating, right? I mean, those guys should be getting all the time in the league. I mean, I think part of the problem today, like we said, it's not against Capella, but he hasn't really played in the league yet. It's not his fault that he's not in form because he hasn't played. Why didn't he play more against Panathinaikos? Why hasn't Yazic? I mean, he hasn't started a match yet. How is he supposed to build up fitness if he's only coming on 20 or 30 minutes? I mean, I don't know. I think as the season evolves, I guess the one way you can defend that from Mendilibar is you need to get all of your A team players into fitness for these Champions League matches. So I guess you can play devil's advocate there, and that's fine. But going forward, right, like you said, that has to change because if you're having to rotate every midweek and in derbies, right, when you're playing, you know, some random team from Greece that's not a derby, then those guys should be starting. Those guys should be playing 60, 70 minutes so that they are ready for these matches when they're needed. Because it is going to happen. I mean, listen, there are going to be matches, big matches, where we're going to need Capella, we're going to need Yazic to play a big part because guys are going to start getting injured. Um, But again, if you don't really start integrating before those big matches, it doesn't really do you a lot of good. And then you get these situations where, again, you don't fault the player, but what more is he supposed to do?
It's on one hand, it's what you said, but yeah, it's still the very, very beginning, and there are specific players like Apodens, for example, who came in late that need to get into fitness. Yeah, okay, I fully understand that. But again, going back once again to what you said, you can go from like splitting their time since, as it seems, one of them is always going to start, to more like I would have expected on Wednesday. On Wednesday, for example, especially given that we played Olympiacos the weekend, if I'm not mistaken, I am expecting both of them to start on Wednesday.
We play our best friends Asteras on Wednesday.
Like I don't know. I just keep thinking that what how is the game plan gonna go? Are the main boys gonna play on Wednesday to just open the cup calmly, and then are we gonna rotate in the weekend to wait? Because I'm pretty sure
I think you
it
have
is
to,
Arsenal.
because we
Like
play Arsenal the following Wednesday. So if you play I mean, we play our A squad this Wednesday, you assume, and we eke out another 1-0 win with a 95th minute super strike, because this is how Esteras play, and we have to go there, so it's going to be a garbage pitch again. You play them in the cup, and then you hope you can beat Olympiacos with your B team. But to be fair, Olympiacos they're a half decent side. They just destroyed Offi earlier today, and they're off to a pretty decent start in the league.
they
So
destroyed Pa- and they destroyed PAOK midweek. Like that's nothing to just to completely overlook. They spanked PAOK live.
well, and they also got the same result we got against Panathinaikos at Panathinaikos. So I mean, that is another serious team. I think you know you probably can't fully rotate your squad and just throw a bunch of kids out there. But yeah, with the way that the schedule plays out, we likely will have to play most of our starters on Wednesday just to keep them up for fitness and then rest them. Um, and hopefully the pitch conditions in Asteras aren't horrible like we know they probably will be, because then you risk injuries to your players before the Champions League. So it's tough, but again, this is why we have the squad we have, and you should be able to balance these matches. And I think it's on Mendilibar to just make those finer tweaks and get the personnel right, even if it's not a full A squad. You also have to consider your opponent. And I like, back to my point of like, listen, I think I would have rather flipped our midfield, played the midfield we played today on Wednesday against Paphos, and played that midfield today against Panathinaikos. So that's where it's the fine tuning is, compared to like just fully rotating your squad, that I think Mendilibar needs to get down.
Yeah, for sure. And as much as it bugs me, I don't know why it's bugging me so much. Like, why did we rotate today and not in the cup, and then figure it out against Olympiacos to keep fitness for 3 days later, and then see what we're gonna do. On a positive note, because there are a few positives at least to keep, like I mentioned, the Scipione performance. Like, even though Zolakis was semi at fault, I can't always go out and play. I can't physically blame goalkeepers in 1v1 situations, but especially given how weak the shot was, you kind of have to put it on everyone, but that doesn't really matter right now. Wednesday is a chance for a complete mental reset before we go into a relatively tougher streak of games, right? Because after Levadiakos, I'm pretty sure we have Arsenal, and then we have PAO.
We have PAOK, and then we're away to Larissa, who just got a point against Ike. Then it's Barcelona. Then it's Ike. I mean, this is the gauntlet right here. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, to Mendilibar's defense, I mean, how the hell are you supposed to balance a squad over that stretch? Basically playing Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday for a month straight. It's going to be tough. I mean, we're going to learn a lot about this team.
A lot about this team, a lot about the resilience of this team, a lot about how this season will go. And as I said, the start of that needs to be on Wednesday. And because I don't think it's even worth it to talk about MVP and stuff today, because God knows it's the few pickings at the very least. The final message on my end, at least, to not keep you for too long as well, is that there is nothing that can break down the trust that Mendilibar has built, and there is nothing that can bring doubt towards his side. There are just some factors, both from his side and the team's, that need to come together and not clash, so we can move forward normally and bring the success that a team of this much positives with these types of very, very variable, if that makes sense, a very variable bunch of amazing players with, again, arguably the greatest coach this club has ever seen, deserve. Because we don't deserve drawing to Panathinaikos, even though that somehow I feel like would happen even if we made an all-time 11 of Olympiacos and put them against the worst Panathinaikos. I feel like we'd somehow go and draw at Leoforos, because that always happens somehow. But we need to be behind this team and we need to be positive. I'll go back to the motto I kept saying, especially at the start of the show. Asking questions isn't bad. Demolishing everything is. And this team deserves greater success than we've ever seen. It's just that click missing of figuring it all out.
Well, I mean, listen, this is the one thing that I said a couple times, and not that I think it's worth celebrating or being satisfied with. Like you said, I mean, there's a way of constructively wanting more out of your team that's not just tearing it down. It is worth pointing out that two awful performances in a row, awful performances, and we got two results. Again, not saying that we should be jumping up and down for that, but it does say something. It says something about Mendilibar. It says something about the group of players. I mean, you saw today, right? Like we can talk about how poor the performances were. They weren't poor performances because of a lack of trying. They weren't poor performances from a lack of intensity. You can tell that all of these guys want it terribly badly. You saw Mendilibar today. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen him so frustrated visibly during a match. I mean, we would be having a very different conversation. And we've had those experiences in the past few years where you have a team where not only are they playing horribly, but they don't give a shit. The manager doesn't give a shit. The one thing you can say about these guys is they do care. And I do trust it to get better. So, you know, to your point, there's a big difference between just burning it all to hell and saying, listen, you know, there's some things that need to improve, but this team has proven that we should give them that trust and that time to figure it out. So it's not all lost. The season's not over. Like you said earlier, I fully trust that I think we will play better against some of the bigger sides. But we have to learn those lessons. I trust the guys to do it, but it has to be done. So it like we've been saying, it'll be interesting to see with this next tough stretch. This is what serious teams are made of. You make your way through it, and you come out the other side with something to show, or you don't. I think the parallel that I would draw is like our Champions League campaign in 2019, where we played pretty well, pushed Bayern and Tottenham and these teams pretty far, but we won one match, right? That's what you don't want to have happen this time around, and I think we'll see if this team is different from that. But yeah, like you said, we should all be behind the team. They've shown us that these are fine-tuned issues. These are not to the hard issues. The foundation is there, and they'll figure it out.
The certain thing is that for me, it's clear that this team is much better than that squad. For me, it's clear that this team loves the club much more than that squad. No disrespect to a lot of players of that squad, like the Valbuenas and the El Arabis, they are always the exception that goes without saying. But this team as a whole shows that it's a family full of quality, and they do have a plan, and we can't give up on them because sooner rather than later, that plan is gonna snap into place. And when that plan snaps into place, I truly believe that we'll see a wonderful season. I truly, truly do. And honestly, after this week, we need a mental reset as fans as well, because I'm seeing that meter of toxicity that slowly just inch up again, just inch further up again, and that can't happen. Not this season. And again, I'm not saying that generally. I'm putting myself in this as well, because, for example, I'm never one to just completely demolish anything, but I tweet something out about El Capi, and what does El Capi go on and do? I can score 2 seconds after. Uh, so we all, as fans as well, need a breather. We need a breather. We need to trust, again, arguably the greatest coach that this club has ever seen, and we need to trust this extremely quality bunch of players, and they will figure it out soon enough and effectively enough. And honestly, I think that's about it. I can't think of anything else to go on and cover.
I think we talked about more than I thought we would.
Well, yeah, we always do, and that's the greatest thing about the show. A breather, a night at least. I will try and put some sort of article out tomorrow, because I'm sure that with a clearer mind, there will be lots to talk about in regards to this game. We'll see you all, hopefully, with a much needed thrashing of Asteras on. I've been saying Wednesday. Is the game even on Wednesday, or am I just
Yes.
doing out shit? Okay, it is.
It's Wednesday at, what is that, 5 p.m. Greek time?
Probably.
It's 7 a.m. for me.
Around, if it's not 5, it's 6. So it's around the normal captain. Thank you once again, man, because honestly, I wouldn't have made 15 and not 45 minutes of today's the complete shit. Yeah, let's take a step back, realize the club we are, and let's keep our chin up. Thank you all.